Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at the future of renewable energy. We've got a stack of your research and articles right here, and
Let me tell you, it's looking pretty exciting.
it really is. What I find most fascinating is how diverse the field is becoming. We're not just talking about, incremental improvements anymore, but truly groundbreaking innovations with the potential to completely transform how we power our world.
Okay, let's dive right in. One of the things that caught my eye was the research on perovskite solar cells.
Right.
Perovskite cells could be a game changer because they offer several key advantages over traditional silicon solar cells. They're cheaper to produce, highly efficient even in low light conditions, and can be printed onto flexible surfaces.
Wow.
Imagine solar panels printed like newspapers, readily available and affordable for everyone.
That's mind-blowing. And it's not just the materials themselves. It sounds like AI is playing a huge role in maximizing the efficiency of solar power.
Absolutely. Think about solar panels that can predict maintenance needs and optimize energy flow to the grid in real time, responding dynamically to changes in weather patterns and energy consumption. That's what the integration of AI and the Internet of Things allows.
The Internet of Things.
For those who haven't encountered that term before, can you unpack that a bit?
Of course. Basically, it refers to the network of physical objects embedded with sensors, software, and other technologies that enable them to connect and exchange data. In the context of solar energy, it means we can create a smart grid where solar panels, energy storage systems, and even your home appliances can communicate with each other to optimize energy use.
So if I'm picturing this right, instead of just passively absorbing sunlight, these AI-powered solar panels become active participants in a smart energy ecosystem.
Precisely. They can analyze data, predict energy needs, and even communicate with your smart home devices to adjust energy consumption based on your preferences and the availability of solar power. That's next-level energy management.
Okay, that's solar. But what about wind energy? You included some articles about offshore wind farms, which seem to be generating a lot of buzz.
Hmm.
Offshore wind has enormous potential, primarily because winds tend to be stronger and more consistent over the ocean compared to land. This allows for the construction of larger turbines and wind farms, capable of generating significantly more energy.
And it's not just about putting giant turbines in the water, right? I read about these fascinating floating turbines designed for deeper waters. How do those even work?
It's a remarkable feat of engineering. Instead of being anchored to the seabed, which can be costly and challenging in deep water, these turbines are mounted on floating platforms tethered to the ocean floor.
So we're essentially tapping into a whole new frontier of wind energy potential.
Mhm.
And I imagine these floating wind farms could be particularly beneficial for coastal areas.
Absolutely. They can be positioned farther offshore, reducing visual impact and accessing stronger wind resources.
Right.
Plus, they open up opportunities for countries with limited shallow coastal areas.
But what about marine life? Putting these massive structures in the ocean, I mean, that must come with some environmental considerations.
You're right. It's crucial to minimize any negative impacts. That's why engineers are incorporating innovative designs, such as bio-inspired turbine blades.
Bio-inspired. What does that mean exactly?
Think about, think about the serrated edges on an owl's wings.
Okay.
These serrations actually disrupt the airflow in a way that muffles the sound of the owl's wings, allowing them to hunt silently. Similarly, researchers are applying these principles to wind turbine blades, creating serrated edges that reduce noise pollution and its potential impact on marine life.
That's incredible. It's like we're learning from nature to make these technologies more efficient and sustainable.
Precisely. And that theme of sustainability is essential as we explore energy storage solutions, which are crucial for making renewable energy more reliable and available on demand.
Right, because the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. We've talked about the potential of pumped hydro, but what about batteries? It seems like there are new battery breakthroughs announced every other week.
Battery technology is a rapidly evolving field. While lithium-ion batteries are currently the most common type used in electric vehicles and electronic devices, we're seeing exciting advancements in other areas as well.
Like solid-state batteries, I've heard that term thrown around, but I'll admit I'm not entirely sure how they differ from traditional batteries.
In a nutshell, solid-state batteries replace the liquid or gel electrolyte found in lithium-ion batteries with a solid electrolyte. This seemingly small change has significant implications. Solid-state batteries have the potential to be safer, have a higher energy density, meaning they can store more energy in the same amount of space and offer a longer lifespan.
So potentially longer lasting batteries for our devices and electric vehicles. That's something I think we can all get behind.
What about these supercapacitors I've read about?
Supercapacitors are like the sprinters of the energy storage world. While they may not have the same energy storage capacity as batteries, they excel in rapidly charging and discharging energy. Think of them as complementary to batteries, each with their own strengths and ideal applications.
So supercapacitors might not be suitable for powering your house all night, but they could be perfect for applications that require quick bursts of energy, like regenerative braking in electric vehicles.
Exactly. Imagine an electric bus that can recharge quickly at each stop using a supercapacitor system. That's the kind of application where this technology truly shines.
It's fascinating how these different technologies, each with its unique strengths, can work together to create a more robust and sustainable energy system.
It's not just about individual technologies, but about creating a smart, integrated energy ecosystem. That's where the concept of smart grids comes in.
Smart grids.
Can you elaborate on that a bit? It sounds intriguing, but I'm not entirely sure what it entails.
Think of a smart grid as the brain of the entire energy system. It uses sensors, data analytics, and automation to monitor and manage the flow of electricity from various sources, from solar panels on your roof to wind farms miles offshore.
So instead of just passively distributing electricity, the smart grid can intelligently manage and optimize energy distribution based on real-time data and demand.
Precisely. If there's a surge in energy demand, the smart grid can draw power from energy storage systems like pumped hydro, or even tap into excess energy being generated by residential solar panels.
It's all about creating a more efficient, resilient, and sustainable energy infrastructure.
This all sounds incredibly complex, but in a way it's quite elegant. It's like we're moving from a rigid, centralized energy system to something much more dynamic and adaptable.
And potentially much more democratic as well. Imagine a future where individuals have more control over their energy choices, generating their own power, storing it locally, and even selling excess energy back to the grid.
That's an empowering thought. Instead of being solely reliant on large utility companies, we could become active participants in a decentralized energy network. But before we get too carried away, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier: energy storage. We've discussed batteries, pumped hydro, even supercapacitors. But there's one more contender you include in the research that I want to make sure we don't overlook: hydrogen.
Ah, yes, hydrogen. Often referred to as the Swiss Army knife of energy, hydrogen offers immense potential, particularly in the realm of long-duration energy storage.
Okay, hydrogen. Swiss Army knife of energy. That's a
Yeah.
pretty bold claim. Break it down for me. What's so special about hydrogen?
It's incredibly versatile. For starters, we can produce hydrogen from renewable sources like solar and wind power through a process called electrolysis.
Electrolysis, so essentially we're splitting water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen using renewable energy. So instead of using fossil fuels, we're creating a clean energy carrier from water.
Exactly. And once we have hydrogen, we can store it in tanks, transport it long distances, and then convert it back into electricity using fuel cells when we need it.
So those fuel cells essentially reverse the process of electrolysis, combining hydrogen and oxygen to generate electricity with water as the byproduct. It sounds like a remarkably clean and efficient cycle.
It is. And because hydrogen can be stored for long periods, it acts as a giant battery for the grid, storing excess renewable energy and releasing it when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing.
This sounds like it could be a game changer for the transition to 100% renewable energy. No more relying on fossil fuels to fill the gaps when renewable sources aren't available. But what about the practicalities? I've always heard that hydrogen is difficult and dangerous to store and transport.
There have been significant advancements in those areas. Researchers are developing new materials for storing hydrogen more safely and efficiently, and we can potentially adapt existing natural gas pipelines to transport hydrogen.
So we're not talking about building a whole new energy infrastructure from scratch, but rather leveraging and adapting existing systems.
Exactly. It's about finding innovative ways to transition to a more sustainable future, using the resources and infrastructure we already have.
Wow, this has been an eye-opening deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the incredible potential of perovskite solar cells and offshore wind farms to the fascinating world of energy storage, batteries, pumped hydro, supercapacitors, and now hydrogen. What stands out to you most from all the research and advancements we've discussed?
What excites me most is the convergence of all these innovative technologies. It's not just about individual breakthroughs, but about how they can work together to create a more intelligent, efficient, and sustainable energy ecosystem.
It's like we're on the cusp of a fundamental shift in how we power our world. moving away from fossil fuels and towards a cleaner, more sustainable future powered by renewable energy.
And this transition is happening now. It's not some distant future scenario. It's happening right now, driven by innovation, collaboration, and a growing awareness of the urgent need for climate action.
It's an exciting time to be alive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping this future.
Couldn't agree more. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but the exploration doesn't end here. Keep that curiosity alive and stay engaged with the world around you because the future of energy is in our hands.